G'day, everybody. Well, I'm going to make this one a short one today. Hey, because you spent so long watching the last one, 40 minutes. Oh my gosh, talking about a thing. But there was one little item I wanted to share, and that is that, convention season's coming up, and I had some time to reflect on some stuff from last convention season, particularly when it comes to this concept of fursuiting. And so if you're not a big fursuiter, this might be an episode you might want to skip. It's a bit of advice for people who have fursuits, or if you're looking into getting fursuits, it might be a good video to watch for a bit of advice if you do have one. Or if you're like one of those people who live cathartically through YouTube and like to watch videos even if they don't apply to you, just so you can live, vicariously through someone else. Like I sort of did, I guess, for when I was doing research on the Tesla thing and I was looking up electronic vehicles. It's like I'm still 5 years out for buying a new vehicle, but yet all of a sudden my YouTube history is now like, what it's like to drive this electric car and this electric car. And I'm like, well, I'm curious, but I'm like, it's not going to be me anytime soon. But, so... YouTube's a weird place. You get caught in the snare sometime, and you're like watching videos that don't really apply to you, and you're like, well, this is cute. I'm killing time here, just as I'm killing time now. But let's talk about something that came to my mind. So traveling with these kind of fursuits can be kind of weird. It can be kind of a very difficult thing to do. It brings it's not difficult, but it brings new challenges for sure when you're traveling. Basically, packing fursuits on planes, packing, things like that. But also there's when you're there, right? There's certain logistical issues that can crop up. And so one of these logistical issues sort of came to my mind during the Midwest Fur Fest of 2018. You see, I was in the Crown Royal. Now, for any of you who know the Rosemont area, the Crown Royal is a hotel that's sort of disconnected from every other hotel. Most of the other hotels in the area, not all of them, I think the Aloft is another one that's not really connected, have most of the hotels though in that area are actually connected by a skywalk to the convention center and to the Hyatt. So if you want to take a longer walk than usual, you can take that windy bridge over and over the and not go outside. The issue is that certain hotels don't allow you to do that, like the Crown Royal. So I found myself going outside a few times in suit, which is fine. The issue is that if it's a little less than favorable outside as far as weather conditions goes, you can pretty much implement some additional wear and tear on your costume that you otherwise would not portray or would not take on. Anthrocon is actually a very particular hard convention when it comes to it, because a lot of the hotels in the area are not really connected to the convention center really. They're like a block or two or three or four away from the convention center. So you're going to have to walk outside a little bit. But by the way, walking outside with Anthrocon and Fursuit is great because the general public sort of likes us. In other conventions, it can be hit or miss. There have been issues where at Midwest Fur Fest, there was like one or two reports of somebody like driving around in a motor vehicle trying to egg furries, So, other places can be a little more hostile. Other places can be, obviously those are rare circumstances, and obviously they're highlighted in social media. But in my general experience, Midwest Fur Fest walking outside, it's just sort of been, but walking around outside in Pittsburgh's it's always been somewhat of a positive experience. Even when my first Anthrocon, like where we didn't know where we were going, I didn't have a fursuit at the time, but I was spotting for somebody I was with, and like we got a little bit lost. We took a route that was well outside of our norm, and people were like, "Oh God, it's you guys!" Like, because they would probably rarely see fursuiters in that area because that's not really along any of the direct paths. from one place to the other, from the hotel to the convention center. So it was an interesting experience. Long of the short, when you go outside and it's muddy, like what if it's raining and pouring rain outside, but you really want to, fursuit in the main convention space, and you don't want a little weather to kind of ruin your day, it can be like, well, how do I do that? Because the issue is that you travel with your fursuit, right? Because if you go outside during those kind of situations, you can kind of end up in a situation where you get some wear and tear. Now, this kind of wear and tear happens, the feet are kind of your tires, and they can get some wear and tear and stuff like that. But when the weather's adverse outside, it can get even worse. And this was, like, my feet didn't look this bad. They didn't look terrible. They had some wear and tear on it, but like Midwest Fur Fest this year really kicked their butt because it was wet and damp, and there was snow, and it was wet and it was damp, and that wet and dampness sort of made its way to the bridges, to those sky bridges I was talking about earlier. In 2017, there was no snow at all, and it was unseasonably warm, and it made it really hot on those bridges. So it was like the year of fire of 2017, where all the fursuiters were like, oh my gosh, it's so hot up here. And if anything, 2018 was the year of water, because all the dampness and wetness and snow collecting on the fursuit feet, which I don't have those with me now. They're being repaired. So I don't have my feet. They're getting prepared for convention season. Hopefully, the person does the repairs to them, and I can have my feet back before the convention thing starts, and they'll do a good job at that, I'm sure. But basically, like, all the wetness collects in your feet, and they come like little sponges. And as soon as you like get off the elevator into the thing, it's like, and it's like, oh. And that was like the edge, the outer edge of the walkway became so slippery. People were like, holding onto the rail for dear life, because like it was really slick under your feet. You can like easily slip and fall because the floor was so wet. And the reason the floor was so wet is because all the fur on people's fursuit feet were collecting all the water, more water than usual. Now, usually it would be bad if it were just plain old human feet and boots, but you add like fuzzy feet to it, and it just makes it even worse. So that was causing like big like wet spot issues on the floors on the sky bridge, mostly towards the area where people got onto the sky bridge, which was the elevators across the embassy suites. So long of the short, that's a lot of damage, right? That's a lot of damage. So how do you prevent said damage? Well, you can prevent yourself from going outside when weather conditions are adverse, but as before noted, how do you take your fursuit with you without exposing it to the elements and make it easier for yourself? Because the issue is that if you are by yourself as a fursuiter, if you have a handler, here's the thing, you don't want your handler to carry like your thing, because when we're traveling a long distance in fursuits, we use things like action packers or like a suitcase that has some toughness to it, so that you're not squishing your fursuit. Like we don't usually use softer bags in order to kind of carry fursuits with us and longer travels because of those kind of situations. So you can't, but the thing is, like, that idea is sort of a good one to do, but you'll kind of need to do both, right? So basically, but, obviously you have a larger carry thing, but I got it so that I can carry my fursuit in this. Just a little handbag. Just a tiny little handbag. So this is sort of the idea I came up with. I'll just carry it in this small thing. It'll fit everything. It'll fit my big old tail. It'll fit my head. What? Don't look at me like that. I can fit this all in here. It's simple. It's easy. You just shove it in. You don't believe me? Okay. I'm gonna Mary Poppins this thing. You ready? You ready? Oh, of course these could fit in there easy, but Obviously, you're like, this big old freaking tail can fit in that small bag. I don't think so, sir. You're lying to me. Well, here's how it goes. You ready? You ready? We're going to do this. We're going to open this. We're going to reveal how you can fit a larger fursuit in a smaller handbag. Now we're going to watch amusingly while I try to open a thing with fuzzy hand paws. Alright, it's open. It's got a lot of stuff in here. Wait, there's something in here already. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's another bag. Huh. Oh, that makes it easier. Oh, I get it. So yeah, what you do is, you get one of these. This is a bigger bag that fits in your smaller bag when nothing is in it. But until you get there, you put this thing and you put this thing in this softer bag when you get to your place. So basically, when you're going to your larger conventions, what you can do is you get your hard action packer, you pack it in the action packer, you get to the hotel room, and as soon as you get to the hotel room, if it's really bad weather, if it's good weather outside, you might as well go outside and enjoy walk out and walk out with it on. I mean, it's what you're there for, guys. But if the weather is nasty and you want to still fursuit anyway, but you're in a hotel that's disconnected from all the other hotels, you take it out of your action packer, you put it in this puppy right here. It's a sort of a waterproof thing. Usually you'd put like mattresses and things like that and these kind of things. You zip it up, carry your fursuit with you from the hotel into the convention center. More than likely what you would do is you would go to the headless lounge if there's one available. Go into the headless lounge. You would also carry your smaller carrying case with you. And then what you would do is you would take your fursuit out of the carrying case, put it on, and then with your empty bag, you fold that empty bag up, and which I probably am not going to be able to do in fursuit because my dexterity checks are lower because I'm in a fursuit. And then you take that folded bag and you stick it in your holding bag. And then you can just carry your holding bag with you, which is much easier and much less wonky. So basically, that's how you can kind of circumvent adverse weather conditions at a furry convention, if there happens to be that, and still enjoy fursuiting in the dry convention center inside the main convention space, even if your hotel is disconnected. I bought that thing in anticipation for going to Anthrocon because I'm not in the Westin this year. I'm going to be a few blocks down, so if there's adverse weather conditions at Anthrocon, I can, instead of like being disappointed because it's rainy on a Sunday and I can't fursuit, or rainy on a Saturday and I can't fursuit. But usually the Anthrocon's weather's been pretty good. I don't think they've had a rain day for their parade since they started it. Knock on wood. But basically, using that particular sort of idea can probably help it so that you can enjoy fursuiting, if you have one, at a convention space, irregardless of those weather conditions. And so even if there's rain on your parade, if you're at a convention where the hotels are disconnected, you could still bring your fursuit with you and be able to fursuit at the main place while not being overly encumbered with, like, carrying an action packer around with you all day, or carrying a very big clunky bag with you all day. You just clap it up and slap it in. Simple, easy. I spent too long talking about it. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this week. What do you think? Are there any other methods that you use in order to try to avoid getting your fursuit melting outside like the Wicked Witch of the West? I don't mind going outside in my fursuit, and it's like, it wasn't terrible, the Midwest Fur Fest thing. My tail got a little wet and my feet got a little sloppy, but it wasn't too horrible. But I've seen downpour conditions at some points, and it's like, I don't think so. And I'll sometimes avoid fursuiting on those kind of days. It's not a big deal to me, but I thought, well, it's, you know, just in case one of these times it gets so that it's really bad weather all the time, it's like it would be kind of a shame to just kind of have the fursuit just sitting there and not doing anything just because it's a rainy day. Find a way to circumvent it. And it was not that expensive. That was about like 20-ish bucks, $22 for that, for the gray thing that I showed earlier. I already had the red bag, so usually if you're going to a convention, you should probably have a carry bag anyway, like a small thing that you can carry with you, because you might be buying some swag and stuff like that. Anyways, I'm going to get the hop out of here. Thank you very much for watching again, and I'll see you guys again next week.